A hearty good afternoon and welcome to the session of Nutritional and Hormonal Imbalance. We are glad to have Dr. Vijayageetha among us today to help us understand the topic. She will take us through that and more in this session today. Doctor, you have the stage.
Thank you. Is my PPT displayed? Yeah, thank you so much. Very good afternoon, everyone. This is Vijayageetha from Apollo CM Fertility with another interesting topic, which is about nutrition. And we all know that food plays a very important role, and the very first venue for the body to look in the cases of the nourishment that requires for the healing, for the ailment, as well as for the development. But in particularly, we look into the nutritional aspect towards hormonal imbalances. So, what causes an hormonal imbalance? We all know to a great extent. There can be a condition called PCOD or PCOS. There can be thyroid as an issue, irregular periods. People in the reproductive population also faces a lot of irregular periodical cycle. The flow is also irregular, as well as the duration and the time traveling is all very different. Some would have a heavy flow, some would have a meager flow, and along with that, certain fertility issues also latch on among the married couple. So this with the female, but with the male also we do see a lot of hormones goes for a toss. That testosterone keeps fluctuating, though not many keen are looking into the factors of hormones. A common semen analysis would say that the quality of the sperm or the motility or the normal forms of the morphology, which is keenly looked into, and say, like, you need to have a healthy lifestyle, drop your bad habits. Very less would be focused on eating, because most of the person know predominantly that male population do not hesitate in eating, but that is also not a very good option, because you do not know what actually to be eaten. Junk is also in eating. So with all this coming to the mind, then at the time of a crisis, of a healthy health crisis, where your body is not having that sufficient nourishment, or it is not supporting anything towards, let's say, a fertility or an infertility treatment, and then the doctor gives, like, you take your multivitamins, you take your this, you take your that. Sometimes it becomes frustration. How long am I supposed to take the tablets? Why isn't there any impact? Am I eating the right food? Who do I go and ask? What needs to be done? Many questions like this arise among the couples, specifically among people who are desperate in planning for a pregnancy. They want an instant answer with a short term implication and a long term solution. Little is studied in that short term implication, but a lot of development is seen, and predominantly um, let's say, the fertility population, where couple who are trying to conceive, we usually tell them to eat a balanced diet, food that contains all the nutritional component, because whatever is the nature of the treatment which has been advised by the doctor, your blood should carry all the components for every aspect of the journey towards a pregnancy. But before getting into that, let's look into some or a few proper research studies to say, hey, yes, the nutritional status does matter a lot, and how important and how has it affected and implied is also needs to be understood a little bit. And this is what I'm going to brief, even before starting up, about all your dietary patterns. So nutrition is the major intrauterine environmental factor that alters the expression of, let's say, your fetal genome. This is taken from a study paper, where the study was all about the maternal nutrition and how the baby grows. Now, people who are planning, if you know that by proper food, if the development of the baby is really very good, probably this would motivate people to look into holistic nutrition, means wholesome eating. So the phenomenon actually is termed as fetal programming, was led to the recent theory from the origins of was a part of an adult study, where the nutrition and the endocrine status resulted in the development of adapting a permanent change within the structure, physiology, and the metabolism of the offspring, which is a newborn baby. So thereby predisposing individuals they who have metabolic, who have endocrine, who have cardiovascular diseases in their adult life. Studies do show that if the parent is undernourished or overnourished, they also have an impact on the placental or the fetal blood flow that can have an implication on the fetal growth. How and what, I'm not getting into the part, but these are the key things that is being seen. And there is an after effect, right? If the fetal placental growth is impaired, then there is a problem with the synthesis part, and then there is an unexplained area where why the growth retardation happens among the pregnant ladies, and this has an extremes of the nutritional problems among the pregnancy outcome. There is also greater evidence to say that there is an epigenetic state, which is stable alterations of the gene expression through DNA methylation and histone modifications in the fetal genome. So, whatever is your baby being exposed to during the entire pregnancy hood, let's say a malnourished part, has an also an impact in the genetic patterns. They provide molecular mechanism on the impact of the maternal nutrition on both fetal programming and genomic imprinting. So, promoting optimal nutrition will not only ensure optimal fetal development, but will also reduce the risk of chronic diseases in the adult. This is one of the papers that gives a study. It was documented in the year 2004 to talk about the importance of nourishment among pregnant ladies. So this says that there is an impact, and how it goes. The impact goes as deep as altering the genome part. So this is one of the very important paper to say, like, not only your focus to be limited, okay, I'm pregnant and then the delivery is done. Long term impact until the kids also become adult, there's a grave impact with whatever happens during the line of the pregnancy. What would be the imbalances of the hormones is with respect to the dietary requirement. So this is another article which speaks about the effects of nutritional deficiencies that affects the endocrine function, and has also reported in the effects of hormonal imbalances. So something like, what are the factors that you see? They can impact on growth hormone, thyroid, adrenal, cortical, and gonadal steroids on dietary needs. Other hormones like insulin, parathormone also influence the nutrition, but they are actually not considered in this particular study. But the study was more related to the endocrine glands and their impact, the metabolism part, regulating the metabolism with foodstuffs with the body. So there was a close relation seen with the growth hormone that increases the protein retention and decreases the fat deposition. This is one common line that we would see, or many would say, if you want to lose weight, eat. But when you say, like, what did you say? You're telling me to eat what would be the right thing. So the right food to be eaten is good amount of protein, is what the research paper speaks about. And there's a lot of regulation also that happens in the adrenal cortex, which regulates the protein, the carbohydrates, fat, salt, and water metabolism. Gonadal hormones play influence in the metabolism of proteins, vitamins, and other factors. Dietary needs remain unchanged when the endocrine glands are secreting hormones within the normal range. So not much of change is seen when the hormones are normal. A lot of changes is seen when the hormones are imbalanced. However, excessive or deficiency in some hormones based on the body, the need of the diet factors is also altered. So our food, which is specific for one, though the hormonal imbalances needs to be the same, is not the same for the others. So this is a problem that is not only clinical, but as well as has a practical application and important, because hormones in human are in large are an imbalances. They don't remain to be the same. Let's say a person is having thyroid imbalance and is put it on thyroid medication. Not all will just blindly continue medication. A few in 1 in 100 would respond to either go to a reduction, or they can go to an increase in dose, because there are other factors that gets applied and affected. So it is a very subjective case. Not all people, let's say, are who are grouped together are like, no, we all have PCO. So what is a common dietary things? Let's focus on eating good quality protein. Is that the only solution? No. So the research says, though hormonal imbalances has happened to be the same, bodily requirements are unique and different. occurrence of spontaneous dysfunctions of the endocrine glands, marked changes in the endocrine balance, induce or aggravate your dietary deficiencies. Optimal dietary supplements would always elevate and result in a very good clinical improvement. So this paper not only talks that no two people of the same etiology will carry the same nutritional things. It is highly subjective, but on a long-term goal has a greater impact. There is another research that speaks that natural healing. What do you mean by natural healing? Among polycystic ovarian syndrome people, when lifestyle changes like nutrition, movement, and rest was imparted, there was a lot of difference among the clients who had been subjected. So it is a case study that was produced. And this case study speaks about PCOD, low fertility rates, and type 2 diabetes, the symptoms and difficulties, which included tiredness, weight management problems, food cravings, carbohydrate addiction, depression, hair loss, low libido, states of unhappiness, high levels of androgenic hormones, cholesterol, TGL, or low levels of ovarian hormones like progesterone or estrogen. These women were treated with the medications and also participated in this program, and there was a significant improvement with results to be seen, which was the commonmost thing was the common lifestyle improvement over a span of 10 to 20 years, which was documented. So this is what the study talks about. So if you see, it is an over a span of time. So the research paper was done on a long-term basis, which is all over a span of 10 years, and the which was collected shows that lifestyle changes can bring significant and objectively be measurable differences, but it takes time. So the quality of the lives and not only increased, and more other improvements were also documented. Studies have shown that lifestyle in the last 150 years has caused more and more chronic endocrine disorders, and such as PCOS, infertility, depression, and others, as well as metabolic diseases like insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, and metabolic syndrome. However, we currently have the necessary knowledge to change our lifestyle, thus maintaining our health on a long term. So, it is only on a long term implication and long term improvements do we see that there are changes definitely seen, but it does take time. So let's put it on subjective basis. There is time to time based changes. There's another study that talks about unexplained infertility and how nutritional imbalances was held responsible. Something that a reproductive population would be keen in hearing, as the aim of the study was to investigate whether women affected by unexplained infertility may have undiagnosed dietary imbalances which would have never negatively affected the fertility aspect. Second, the investigation was whether the degrees of the nutritional imbalances or abnormalities benefited due to different dietary supplements. Did it affect? What was the most effective intervention? And the survey, which was conducted on two different phases, says that all the women included were offered an opportunity to receive prescription. Three types of designated dietary supplement scheme was being implemented over a span of 3 months. And when compared with fertile women, patients having unexplained infertility showed significant improvements in dietary habits. The differences range from minimum as something that we call it as imbalance in the micronutrient to severe combined macronutrient and micronutrient imbalance, frequently associated with obesity, and also associated with type 2 diabetes, associated with inositol supplementation, and on a long term for the establishment of the fertility. The nutritional investigation and treatment explained to resolve portion of the cases of unexplained infertility, improving the outcome of an IVF treatment with minimum imbalance and restore spontaneous fertility. So this is a very proactive paper, and it was very interesting that motivated me to read that the dietary implementation, though it doesn't show complete resolution, but there was an imbalance. the imbalance has been accepted and implemented, there is a significant improvement, though not in the completely affected people, and it has also addressed at to a level minimum level of imbalances were corrected, and there was a spontaneous restoration of fertility aspect. It's a very beautiful paper which was done in the year 2015, and very important aspect that we need to see is that most of the causes which when we hear it as unexplained, please look into, yes, are we eating everything, is everything there, then why it is not happening? Rather than giving an overall generalized statement, kindly look into how qualitatively things are done. So, retrospection will not only improvise on, okay, am I lying to myself? Am I genuinely doing it? You know, you need to look into oneself. It's not about pinpointing it as a mistake, it's about like, a negligence out of overseeing generalization. With this, I think it is a good motivation for us to move and kick forward about learning what about the nutrition, what needs to be looked into, how I can cater my eating regime, what to be added in my breakfast, what is missing in my breakfast to be added in my lunch, and how do I plan my dinner, what would be my snack times, what are my quality intakes, how much of water, how much of nutrition, am I calculative enough? Above all, is my body assimilating, is my absorption and excretion well balanced, to say that whatever nutrition which is in the form of a food which has been consumed is also being assimilated? How can one balance the hormones through nutrition can be one of the questions which is asked. One, you can add a lot of vegetables in your diet. Eat good fats daily. Three, eat a variety of vegetables, like don't stick to just one or two varieties. Have a variety, like morning, let's say you had a carrot ka sabzi with your basic breakfast, which is, no, what is an Indian common breakfast in the morning? Happen to be a North Indian, it can be a paratha and a sabzi, and if you're more to a South Indian, is always your idli, vada, dosa, and your potato curry and masala. So already potato is, added in your diet. So for the afternoon, you would look into what was not added to be added into your plate. So eat quality protein at every meal. Let's look into the aspect of protein also. Why among the PCOD, PCOS hormonal imbalances, protein plays a major role. The basic building block of a body is nothing but proteins. Varieties of proteins and all have their unique work to do. But commonly, if you say if there is an imbalance, we would commonly iterate it. Hey, eat proper protein. But what protein to eat? From which part to eat? What kind I can add to eat? All comes to the picture. So eat quality protein at every meal. If you are a vegetarian, let's say you are adding broccolis and paneers in your morning diet. Afternoon, that you see that you find your protein resources from lentils and pulses. By night, you can add your protein resources from your yogurts and milk. If you see, I have made the heavier food in the morning and the lighter versions for the night, so that your body would also equally get the nourishment at the same time, doesn't feel overwhelmed. Eat 2 spoons of good nuts and seeds every day. Not nuts, eat minimum 2 spoons of seeds. You can have a varieties of seeds starting from your sesame seeds, your flax seeds, your chia seeds. So one or two varieties, your maximum quantity, your dietary recommendation is 2 spoons. You can add that. Eat a whole fruit in moderation. Let's say, what would be your midday snack? Rather than snacking on a packet of chips, you can crunch an apple. Okay, I ate an apple yesterday. How about a banana today and an orange tomorrow? See that you eat one complete fruit, and your food should include lot of herbs and spices. What do you mean by herbs? Your green leafy vegetables has a lot of healing qualities, something like spinach, your fenugreek leaves, your other green leafy vegetables, which has like your corianders, your pudina, or your mint, do carry a lot of nutritional components that is more correlating or good during your reproductive days. So you can add a lot of food varieties which has, a good healing properties or medicinal properties too. Eat whole grain fibrous carbohydrates. Don't have your carbs, which is your rice or your wheat or a chapati, to be very simple. Along with your wheat ka flour, you can probably add on a scoop of, let's say, a millet of barnyard variety. Tomorrow you can add a scoop of bajra. You can also add a scoop of raigira. These are all of the nuts and seeds varieties powder mix, which adds more nutrition. Above all, it makes your simple carbohydrate to complex carbohydrate, which takes on to your assimilation and other things. But at the same time, the nutritional components from these is also incorporated in the body. Some other questions that can come up. Can a nutrition help in an imbalance? Though we saw quite a few research papers which speaks that over a span of 10 years or in a longitudinal study comparing 150 years of data, do say that nutrition plays an important role. The recent research study which I had spoken on, which was taken from the year 2015, definitely speaks about the impact of how the specific group of women, when the supplements were given in the form of it says supplements, it can also be food or it can also be a supplement medication, there was a significant improvement seen. Hormonal imbalances was minimalized and there was a direct impact on the fertility aspects. So three important points that this research also hits about. Any person who's suffering from an hormonal imbalance, they definitely benefit from eating with a healthy nutrition part, because most common hormonal imbalances responds well to a nutritional intervention. So this is something that we have come to know. So how will it impact? How am I going to do this? Specific nutrients, specific diet patterns, and your complete nutrition play a very important role in benefiting detrimental losses in your hormonal balances. Various nutrition intake patterns, like sometimes people who talk about the most current trending topic is intermittent fasting. What do? It's not about just like that being without eating. They eat everything that is required for one complete day in a limited period of time, and they allow a huge window period of time without consuming anything. So if you see, it allows the body to rest, relax, or do its own other functions, but it also has an impact on certain hormones, and it also aids in fat reduction. However, there's not a bit current research, any documentation to say that it has benefited in weight reduction. Nutritional deficiencies, definitely something like, what nutritional deficiency, ma'am, if you want me to look, does it cause an hormonal imbalance? Then some point to say that it is your vitamin B complex, and that is the most important part in functioning your nervous system, the gastrointestinal system, cardiovascular system, and its deficiencies. It can be any type of a vitamin B that would lead to a hormonal imbalance in the body. So, with little bit of brief of all of this, I would like to get into about the nutrition part, and let's see what food, or let's say which vitamin, or what is it going to directly impact. All these, the study papers, the research documented, all gives us a good push for us to look into the aspect of nutrition, and it is high time that you also try to correct your imbalances in areas wherever it says about unexplained and whatever is your treatment cause. The process of taking food using for growth, metabolism, and bodily repairs. Nutritional stages are ingestion, digestion, absorption, transport, assimilation, and excretion. A nourishing substance as like nutritional solutions is delivered to hospital patients via IV or an IG tube. So what are the ways to ingest? If you're a hospitalized person, it can be either to your medications or through via IV or an IG tube. Or if you are a common person like you and me, it's good to go take your fruit, crunch it and eat. Or if it is a vegetable, cook and eat. The main classes or the division of what your nutrients is all about, as I was discussing, is your carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins and minerals, fiber, and water. So if you look, we are all commonly aware about our eating pyramid. So the biggest, broadest base once upon a time when we looked was our carbohydrates, but currently the carbohydrates are replaced into protein, because now that is the need for the hour, because a lot of metabolic imbalances, endocrinal gland disorders, there's a lot of thyroids and diabetes and PCOD, PCOS comes up. So to rule out all this, we are just doing a minor shift. The complete base of the pyramid becomes protein, and the next less to that would be your carbohydrate. Nutritions have one or more of the most important. There are three important functions for a nutrition. What will it do? They provide energy, they contribute to your body physique or structure, and they also regulate the chemical processes in the body. They allow to detect and respond to the environmental surroundings. They also help in mobilizations of the body. They help in your excretion. They help in your breathing mechanisms. They help the body to grow as well as reproduce. So, two broad categories that any nutrition can be done is a macronutrient and a micronutrient. What I spoke to you about vitamin B, which will be lost, is a micronutrient. Macronutrient, we would say it as either in a form of a protein or a carbohydrate. What would be this role of nutrition? A healthy diet throughout your life promotes a healthy pregnancy outcome, supports normal growth, developing and aging, and helps in the maintaining of a healthy body weight, which reduces the risk of chronic diseases, leading to overall health and well-being. So if you look into the image, it's like a cycle. There is no beginning, there is no end. What does it mean? It simply means that you need everything. Based on person to person, the proportion might change. To a hardcore worker, like you work, you run, and you are immobile, let's say around 8 to 12 hours, the major portion of the consumption would be a carbohydrate. Let's say you are a worker, you are a female, you're looking towards a reproduction, you do have hormonal imbalances. Most of the food that will revolve around you, you start from your protein, and then you put your percentages based on your lifestyle of other things. So if you look at the food pyramid here, vegetables, among the other things, your vegetables plays a very important role. The amount of micronutrients that the vegetable carries, your greens, your carrots, your vitamin A's, your beets, your B complex comes from there. Pumpkins, broccoli, kale, cucumbers, brinjal, uh, lycopene of the tomato, onions, garlic, turmeric, the curcumin, which is an anti-inflammatory property, which currently I'll speak about, all has vital nutrient components that it requires. Among the complete thing, the most huge portion that you would be eating is your vegetable. And then comes your fruits. Let's say I told you, fruit for a day, an apple today or an orange tomorrow, a banana yesterday, something like that. And then even among fruits, there are certain fruits that would be more adding to your weight prone and more adding to water content. So fruits like avocado would definitely put on slightly weight, which has a slight over tendency of calories. So that has been split there. And you can also add on your dietary products like your milk, your cooking oils, your eggs, and your cheese. And if you are a non-vegetarian, you look into your portion of meat or protein coming from your chicken. Sweet and processed food is the very little thing. Everything is part of life. So is an enjoyment. Your 1% of your enjoyment you can take up from the processing food. The huge jump that we were talking about is carbohydrates. Let's look into what a carbohydrate is all about and how it is going to affect a person's body when they are eating. Carbohydrates, which we short form call carbs, right, is a type of a macronutrient found in certain foods and drinks. Your sugar, starch, fiber are all labeled under carbohydrates. Your pastas, your burger bases, your pizza bases, your chapatis, and your rice. It can be red rice, green, brown rice, black rice, your white rice, all comes under them. Carbohydrates are your body's most important primary energy resource, and they are classified under sugars, starches, and fibers. Carbohydrates are body's main source of energy because it is easily assimilatable. Haven't you noticed among diabetes, they would say eat your rice less. Why? It instantly gets mixed in your blood. So, in its absence, your body will look for sources of nourishment from protein and fat for energy. So people who are focusing for, let's say, weight loss can reduce, I'm not saying zero, can reduce your carbohydrate input in your plate and add on to protein in your diet to bring in that fat loss in your system. It is hard though initially, but it is a long term goal, but it can be easily achievable. Then what is the problem in not achieving a good fat loss? Probably your manipulation is too much, which your body is not able to recognize. Completely neglecting carbohydrates and completely eating only proteins would also leave an imbalance in the body because your immediate energy doesn't come. It forces your body to melt the fat and take up the energy, which takes quite some time. So, among people who diet, you would see lethargy, bit of tiredness, a bit of laziness would come because of their own inability. The body doesn't able to instantly revive, so they're a bit slow, but they are steady. So all this is because your direct energy source, which is carbohydrates, is less in their diet. Carbohydrates are the body's main source of energy. In its absence, your body will use, protein and fat, which I told you, and it is a very important for your long-term health. If you notice that people are doing some crash diet, they will say it is a short-term diet, short diet. But how many of you are following it only as a short diet? It tends to become habitual. When all carbs break down into glucose, the best carbs for the health are the ones that you eat more closest to your nature, like natural. Something from vegetables, your fruits, your pulses, and legumes, unsweetened dairy products, and 100% whole grains like brown rice, quinoa, wheat, and oats. The healthiest source of carbohydrates comes from unprocessed or minimally processed grains, vegetables, fruits, and beans. So something the industrialization has come up with, though the benefit of the industrialization is food for everyone, the concept of packing, tinning, and preserving has brought its own health hazards. So delivering vitamins, minerals, fibers, and a host of most important phytonutrients are actually lost. So the healthiest way is more nature related. The second most important thing is your proteins, the most complex substance that is present in all living organisms, the greatest of the nutritional value, and it is directly involved in all sorts of chemical processes happening in the body, which is very essential for the life to move on and live. The importance of this was identified by a Swedish chemist called John Jacob Berzelius in the 19th century, who coined the term protein, which is derived from the Greek word proteos, which means holding first place. It builds and repairs the cells and body tissues, including your skin, your hair, your muscle, and bone. Protein is also important for blood clotting, immune system responses, hormones, and enzymes. Well, you got partly as an answer what you need to look into it. Um, Building block, PCOD, hormonal imbalance. Where will you look into? Protein. So the different levels of protein structures is called primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary. There are various levels of proteins is also there. But two main categories of proteins that we look into is an animal-based protein and plant-based protein. The complete protein, which is actually adequate amount of all essential, which is 9 types of amino acids found, is actually in a plant animal product based protein like fish, meat, poultry, eggs, milk, cheese, and yogurt. The plant based protein are actually incomplete. What does it mean? It might lack either one or a few of the essential amino acids, like beans, your peas, nuts, whole grains, and peanut butter. So, if you are a vegetarian, if you're looking into plant-based protein, you cannot have the same pulse in the morning, in the afternoon, in the night. So, you need to bring in a variety of the legumes and pulses just to compensate your amino acid loss. So, the role of protein, which builds new cells, replaces damaged cells, will be well taken care. That makes actually your blood or a hemoglobin, which carries oxygen to body. The third important thing is fats. Fats, which are nutrients that gives you energy. They have around per gram of a fat will have around like 9 calories. They help in absorption of fat soluble vitamins like vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, and vitamin K. Fats are either saturated or unsaturated, and most foods with fat have, both the types. That is, type A of a fat is a lipid-based thing that does not dissolve in water, and there are type B, which is an unsaturated fatty acids, and the role of the fat is to transport these vitamins, which is A, D, E, and K in your blood. They provide energy for your building blocks, and now also helps in hormones. They helps in satisfying hunger pangs. They helps with the food which is also good in calories. So focus into your good saturated fatty acids, and try to avoid your bad trans fat, which is our ugly fat, which we call, so that it also facilitates the goodness in us. So not all fats are bad. You do need fat, but this is a differentiation to say what is very important. The good fat, let's look into this. So why does it mean that is a good fat? These fats help in the absorption, assimilation, and transportations of your vitamins. They are found in fish, vegetable oils like olive, canola, soybean, corn, cottonseed, and it is very usually, if you see this kind of oil would be very liquid in room temperature, and it is associated in reducing heart ailments. And they are divided as, monosaturated, polysaturated, and omega-3 fatty acids. We know more about omega-3 fatty acids and its benefits. The bad fat, which we call it as saturated fat, is actually found in meat, very specifically red meat, and animal products, oils like palm, coconut, and often used in commercial baked goods. Fats in your beef, pork, egg yolk, and dairy fruits, foods higher in saturated fats, like chicken and fish. Eating much can raise your blood cholesterol levels and increase of heart disease. Your trans fat that is actually occurring in the beef and dairy products is also to be consumed in moderation. So if you see, unlike other fats, trans fats are neither required nor beneficial for a healthy eating. Actually, trans fat increases the risk of coronary heart diseases. So what is it that you will look into your food as a parameter? Your unsaturated fat is what you will look for, like, monounsaturated, polyunsaturated, omega-3 fatty acids. This is what you would see. What is okay if you find it in a container of chips, trans fat? Here and there is okay. What is very bad, or really minimize it to one portion, is your saturated fat, which is a bad fat. Vitamins, the most important compounds that makes our complete body function. The chemical uh, processes that happens in our body through the help of protein molecules. Vitamins are organic compounds that we know it needed in small quantities, but it has to be coming from the food, because the body does not produce them, or it produces really very little. Vitamins are compounds that help in regulating your vital body functions like digestion, absorption, metabolism, and other nutrients. There are two types of vitamins. One is water soluble vitamin, the other one is fat soluble vitamin. Out of the most essential, your 13 essential vitamins, I already told about vitamin A, C, D, E, K, which are fat soluble. We will also look into the water soluble vitamins, which is your vitamin B uh, and B12. So what are they? That is thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, pantothenic acid, B6, B12, and folates. Vitamins have various work to do, and it is the most responsible aspect in keeping the body working properly. Minerals. Where do I find these minerals? Are very, very small substances that the body cannot manufacture, but are needed to form healthy bones, healthy teeth, and regulate your vital bodily processes. They are important for your body to stay healthy. Your body uses minerals for many different works, keeping your bones, muscles, hearts, and brain working properly. Minerals are also important for making enzymes as well as hormones. There are two kinds of minerals: macro minerals and trace minerals. The larger kind of a minerals like your calcium, your phosphorus, magnesium, sodium, potassium, chloride, and sulfur. You need in small amounts are your iron, manganese, copper, iodine, zinc, cobalt, fluoride, and selenium. Fiber, the most important aspect among all the people who eat. The first thing that anybody would focus on in a diet, it is because it is mostly helping in a person in digestion and elimination. Fiber is a type of a carbohydrate actually, which our body cannot digest. So carbohydrates are broken down into sugar molecules, whereas fiber cannot be broken down any further. And instead it passes through the body undigested. So it helps the body in regulating sugars, in keeping one's into hunger prank, and blood sugar in all levels also on check. The soluble fiber dissolves in water in helping in blood glucose levels, helping in lowering one's cholesterol levels, like oatmeal, nuts, beans, lentils, apples, blueberries. They are soluble fibers. What about the insoluble fiber that does not dissolve in water? They move through your digestive system in promoting and regulating and preventing constipation. Foods like wheat, whole wheat bread, whole grain, couscous, brown rice, legumes, carrots, cucumbers, example, tomatoes. Best sources of fibers are your whole grains, your fresh fruits, vegetables, legumes, and nuts. Fiber appears to reduce the risk of developing various chronic conditions, such as including of your heart diseases, your diabetes, diaventricular diseases, as well as constipation. So this is very, very important. The most important component in your body. It helps in assimilating, it helps in maintenance, it also helps in excretion, it keeps your body in balance. Water, the most important part, almost 60 to 70 percentage of the human body is comprising of water. So water is an inorganic, transparent, tasteless, colorless, odorless chemical substance, H2O, that makes the Earth's most important hydrosphere part in the entire system, ecosystem. The fluids which all living organisms live and breathe with. It is vital for all forms of life, and it provides actually no calories or no organic nutrients. It's just plainly nothing. Water comprises around 55 to 60 percentage in a vital body in everyday function. It becomes a transporter. It carries blood, it carries nutrition, it carries lubricants, it enables you to swallow, it enables you to digest, it enables you to excrete. From the top to toe, for every function, for every locomotion and every movement, water plays a very important role. You just can't put fiber and sit, right? Fiber just adds one more component. Along with fiber, your water plays the most important role. So the minimum requirement for the water is around 8 cups a day. Your body uses water, and in it contains all the cells, tissues. They help in regulating the temperature, maintaining bodily functions. Your body loses water through breathing, sweating, digestion, excreting. So how do you rehydrate? By drinking, eating foods that contain water. It moistens the tissues in the eyes, nose, protects body organs and tissues, carries nutrients and oxygen to cells. Okay, now we saw motivating points about how nutrition, when incorporated, though not told what to be done, has brought in a fruitful outcome. Now, we've seen what are the major parts of the nutrition and what are its individual roles. What is a carbohydrate? What does a role in the body? What is a protein? What is its role in the body? What is vitamins? What is its role in the body? Minerals, its role in the body. Your water, the role in the body, and your fiber. But still, the production and secretion of hormone, which is the food that we see, has direct actions on our gut, nervous reflexes through changes in the concentration of various metabolisms in the blood, or brings in secondary changes in the circulating the gut hormone levels. Foods such as rich in processed foods, fast foods, starchy carbohydrates, and sugar leads to symptoms of hormonal imbalance. Just now we spoke about carbohydrates, protein, but how beneficially you will take it. Your panipuri also contains to a certain extent carbohydrate, but will it fall into a healthy carbohydrate? It still falls into a processed food, right? So, rich in processed food, like a fast food or starchy carbohydrates, is where your imbalance starts with. It leads to hormonal imbalance, moodiness, weight gain, fatigue, sleeplessness, wrinkles, and increased diseases. Six foods that you need to cut out of your diet to stay clear out of hormonal issues. Red meat. If at all, if you are eating or prone to eat red meat, reduce it, because red meat is rich in saturated and hydrogenous fats. So you can, I might as well avoid it. But if you're addicted to the meat, you can substitute, reduce, and then completely stop. Soy products. Soy products are rich in estrogen. So, among female who are planning for fertility or infertility affected people, or if you're planning for a conception, it's better that you stay away from soy products, because sometimes the treatment, um, therapy, or your treatment, or your medication, or or your injections can have an impact with the estrogen, which is through your soya. Dairy products, too much of milk or too much of cheese or too much of food, that dairy products that contain fat, is better to avoid or minimum. Caffeine, too much of caffeine is not good because it brings in a sleep imbalances. Processed food is a big no-no. They increases your cholesterol, it affects your metabolism, it brings in an imbalance in your weight and so forth. Certain vegetables, if you are allergic to, it's better that you avoid. Before getting into superfoods or what needs to be done to bring into an hormonal balance, let's look into if there are any questions that I can address from the audience. Any questions? Okay, in the meantime, there are two questions. What foods to help to balance female hormones? What do you mean by a female hormone? Hormone like estrogen and progesterone. So this is very common among females, right? So something that you can give us like an instant takeaway, madam. It is very useful for us to apply it in the life, and busy bee working ladies, good about that. Foods like broccoli, sprouts, brussels, green leafy vegetables like kale, cabbage, spinach, cauliflower. Then you can, among fruits, you can have avocados. If you're a really very busy lady, you do need good fats also. These all help in regulating. Very specifically, these foods impact your liver metabolism. Hence, your hormones of estrogen and progesterone also gets regulated. So, it is very good for your fertility aspect. Also, you can say it is like, specifically meant for females. It is not like females. It is about the hormone and its impacts. If there are some fruits that recommended, what are the fruits that I needs to, what are the things that needs to be avoided, right? You need to avoid soya and soya products. You need to avoid caffeine. You need to avoid simple carbohydrates like your pizza, your burger, your the base, which is too starchy. We already discussed that starchy carbohydrates also have this impact. And red meat. And what is the best vitamins to take to bring in an hormonal imbalance? So vitamins like your vitamin D, vitamin C, vitamin B, your vitamin B12. If you really do not know, get back to your doctors to get your relevant blood check done. Is there any blood check that needs to check? Yes. So it's ideal that you get your check done to identify which vitamin is imbalance, and start with the help of your doctor, because I am not a doctor and I am not promoting any self medication here. um okay, ma'am, don't give me about the medicine part. Let me address it at least by, what if I eat my hormones would be of a balance. To optimize your hormonal health, you should eat And then after some time you can follow up with a small activity of walking. Eat before you consume any um, uh, fruits, like a fruit juice. Have a plan. It's not like, okay, somebody's offering me a fruit juice, I will drink it and start eating after that. No. So you need to have a proper planning when you eat. So moment you wake up, if you have any signs of discomfort, address that. And if you have any hormonal imbalances, cater your plates according to that. So you wake up, you can have your healthy breakfast, where your breakfast can be the major portion of your breakfast is protein and a little bit of carbohydrate and a little bit of vegetables, which is your fiber. So to cook, and then your tadka or your dressings for the things comes with your minimal, which is your fat. Since after your breakfast you keep moving, your activity keeps you engaged, so you keep going with that. So your midday break, between your breakfast and your lunch, there is a snack time. Try to have healthy snacks like a fruit, or a fruit juice, or something that's more convenient but adds nutritional value. So by 12, if it is your lunchtime, you can have a good portion of your afternoon lunch, which has equal amounts of protein and carbohydrates, because your body is almost hitting to get tired, and you need definitely a lot more of energy to complete your day, right? This is just 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock. So your protein, your carbohydrates, and a good bunch of vegetables like curries and pulses, and you can have two palyas, rice, roti, and your curd, and you finish it off. So after your lunch, since your lunch is the most heartiest meal of the entire day, after 15-20 minutes of a break, start to have a small walk in around your cabin. This is to keep you from drooping off. So a good hearty lunch and then a small movement, or after that, keeps your digestive system engaged. So let's say your lunch is done, and by evening there is a small snack time. You can have your teas, you can have, if you feel too drowsy, about your coffee, and you can also have a small snack. You get to decide what you can eat. Among infertility treatment seeking couples, ideally what the women would do is, ma'am, the afternoon portion of food is too heavy, so she keeps aside your vegetable portions or your legume portion, and she eats at 4 o'clock along with the tea time. So you can do something like that. And then you have your evening fruit juice or a tender coconut water, and you wind up with your dinner, which is very light but at the same time power packed. Your protein, your carbohydrates, less of a carbohydrate, because you're going to wind up no sooner in your bed, and you can have your vegetable portions for all that. So this is what you would be doing, your optimum way of eating to balance your hormones. Because lack of hormones, low protein diet definitely has its impact on hormonal levels. So low estrogen is always associated with lack of ovulation, autoimmune disorders, and also compromised thyroid functions. So please be mindful with that. So let's get back to the superfoods. What do you mean by superfoods? You eat little, but the impact is so much that you get a lot of nutritional values along with that. Something from an apple, blueberries, a fish called salmon, a spinach, green tea, avocado, almonds, broccoli. So, what is the other ways of balancing your hormones apart from eating right and eating on time and eating every time? You need to also consume healthy fats. Avoid overeating, at the same time, avoid undereating. If people are okay, you can have green tea. You can eat fatty fish to keep your vitamin B's in constant check. Get consistent, good sleep, which is equally important. Your sleep helps you to revive, so that is very, very important. Stay away from sugary beverages. I'm not saying to completely stop, but just stay away. Consume a high fiber diet. Let's say you're planning to do fat loss and your portion of protein is more, your carbohydrates is little bit less. So what am I going to do for the extraction, assimilation, and all that, add good quality, high fiber food. So this will also helps you in digestion and also fat reduction. Eat eggs anytime and all time. Eggs are the most complete food that is available. It is simple and one of the most nutritious food available on planet. So something that is very commonly seen among infertility or treatment seeking couple would be good eggs in their diet has had a good impact in their ovulation phase. So not only, quite a few research journal also supports that the minimum food that was exhibited among the treatment seeking ladies with eggs, the survey says that the ovulation was much beneficial. Effects of hormonal imbalance on dietary requirements is one such research paper which it talks about. And bone health, the exercise, nutrition, and hormones is it's a chain reaction where the impact is seen among athletes. So this research was also done among athletes to show the vital roles in ensuring optimum bone health among these people, and specifically on the females and how it has impacted. So the three important pillars to fight your hormonal imbalance is your good nutrition, your good physical exercise, and healthy hormones. So first check whether your hormones is in healthy. Are they very weak, or are they strong? The imbalance is due to what? You need to identify that, right? If your body is not able to produce, then you need something. So look into the quality of the hormone. Then you need to work on your nutrition part, and then you add exercise accordingly. Though the advice is the same, it is highly subjective. Your portion, your time of impact, and the level of impact in one's own body always varies from person to person. It's not like you did and somebody else saw the benefit, you're not able to see the benefit. It's not like you will all get the same benefits in the same time. So look into detail what needs to be done so that you will come to know what else needs to be applied. For any personal recommendation, if you are really concerned about, I have done my best of googling, taken into consideration of all this, nothing seems to work, you can always approach me. So we can cater about based on your lifestyle, based on your requirements, based on your hormones, or based on what your treatment plan is, a right nutritional chart which will help you to facilitate to do things forward. There is no right or wrong, because nutrition for infertility treatment, all components of nutrition is very important. So there is no restriction per se to say this is not good and this is not good. The only thing that we would like to look into the part is reduce the bad fats, increase the good fats, increase your protein, reduce your carbohydrates for an optimum balanced hormone achievement. So this is something that needs to be looked into. So since no two person's body would respond the same, it is better that you approach either your treating doctors, or you can walk into Apollo CM Fertility. We have our doctors here catering all the needs for the reproductive health. They would be the best person ideally to help you out, not only in identifying your hormones, they would also look into the reasons for your hormonal imbalance, and will also facilitate you to whatever is your goals in life. Any questions? Okay, with that said, thank you so much for listening, and have a great day ahead. Thank you.